Okay, welcome everyone as we make this major Kiddush Hashem after a very long summer fast. Ilam is coming in the night to learn Torah Hashem. Welcome. As we're sponsored by A.B. Spry for Shalema, for Taiba Reise Bas Hinda, and for great Sivugim for their daughter and grandchildren. We're sponsored for the physical, emotional, and spiritual protection of Yeshua Menachem Mendel Ben Bevel Shendel Rivka. We're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lila Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKoyin. And also for the Fush Shalema, Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored by Sholem Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Arya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas God, Yosef Ben Siyam Ben Yaakov Zev, and for a great Shidduch for Chayat Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We're sponsored by Eddie Chazan for the Yeshua of Klal Yisrael, safety and success of the IDF, and by Menachem Umansky. All those looking for a great Zivig should find it quickly and easily. We have a very interesting piece of Agadah Gemara this evening, and we begin at the bottom line of Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis. Bottom line of Chav Daled Amud Beis. Rav Ashi Amar Kiman Koru Parsai Lenida Dushtana. What's the etymology of the Persian word Dushtana for a woman that's a menstruant? So the Gemara says, Mehacha, it's from what Rachel said, Ki derech noshim li, when she explained to her father why she can't get off her horse, because she said, the way of woman is with me. So derech noshim is the beginning of the word dushtana. And now we turn the page to Daf Chafei Amud Aleph, where the Gemara now tells us, and we have in mind to learn for the fulfillment of the mitzvah of Dibarta Bam, La'asais Nachas Ruach Liyotzreinu. So it says by Yoshua, Vayidaim HaShemesh, the sun stopped, V'yoreach Amad, and the moon stood still, Ad Yikum Goy Oivav, until our nation punished the enemies. Halohi Ksuva, and this is written Al Sefer HaYosher, in the upright book. My Sefer HaYosher, when we say in the upright book, what are we referring to? This is Bereshis that talks about Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Shenikra, Yesharim. They are considered the ones that are upright. Shenema, like Bilam said, Thomas Nafshi Mois Yesharim. May I die the death of the Yesharim. As the Bali Musa say, Bilam wanted to die like a tzaddik, but he didn't want to live like a tzaddik. And the word Yashar is very important to know this. The word Yashar, which means upright, means straight. Like if you go in Eretz Yisrael and you ask a cab driver, where should I go? And he tells you, Yashar, Yashar, straight, straight. The idea is that a Yashar goes in the Rambam's Shvil Azov, the Derech HaEmtza, the middle road. A person that goes in the middle road is a Yashar. He goes straight. He doesn't veer to the right. He doesn't veer to the left. He has a balanced life. The Eicha Remiza, so where does it say that the sun would stop for Yeshua in Bereshis? Because it says, by the bracha that Yaakov gave Ephraim, V'zaro yiyeh maloi hagoyim, and his seed will fill the nations. When will all the nations see the greatness of Yeshua? Ve'imasa yehei maloi hagoyim, v'shasha amdo leicham al Yeshua. Yeshua was a descendant of Ephraim, and the sun stopped in the whole world. The whole world saw that the sun stopped for Yeshua. Vayamar Shemesh, and the sun stood b'chatzia shemayim, at midway in the sky. V'loy atz lavai ki yom tamim, and it didn't rush to set a full day, a full period of a day. V'kama, how long did the sun stay in the sky? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Kipshuta, it says, Ki Yom Tamim, Esrim Ba'arba Shai, 24 hours. Ozil Shis, it went for 6 hours, and then Vikam Shis. And it stayed by noon, it stayed in the sky for 6 hours. Ozil Shis, it went down 6, ready to set, but before it set, Vikam Shis, it stayed another 6 hours. So that's a total of, instead of 12 hours, a total of 24 hours. Kula Milsa, the total amount of that day was Kiyom Samim, was like 24 hours. Rabbi Lazar says it was longer than that. Rabbi Lazar Shloishim Shis, 36 hours. Ozil Shis, it went to noon, to mid-sky, Vikam Tracer, and then it waited 24 hours. Ozil Shis, then it set, Vikam Tracer, and it also waited 12 hours. So that's 24 hours plus the regular 12 hours, that's 36 hours. Amidasai, so it's stationary. It was stationary Kiyom Samim, like a full 24 hours plus the regular 12 hours is 36 hours. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, Arba Mishmoina, it was 48 hours. How do you have a cheshbon of 48? Ozil Shis Vikam Tracer, it went 6 hours, and then at noon it waited 12 hours. Ozil Shis, and then it went 6 hours, and before it set, Vikam Esim Arba, and waited 24 hours. So the extra amount is 36, plus the 12 hours is a total of 48. Shenemar, V'loi Otz Lavoi Kiyom Samim, it didn't hasten to set for 24 hours. Michlal de Beikara, initially when it paused at noon, Lav Kiyom Tamid Ame. It wasn't like a full day, but rather at noon it waited 12 hours. Before it set, it was 24 hours, that's 36 hours, plus the 12 hours of the day is 48 hours. Others say, Ikadamre, Bitosva Pligi. They argue about how much was added. Rabbi Shua ben Levi Amar Esim Barba, there was added 24 hours. Ozil Shis Vikam Tracer, it went to its zenith at noon, and it paused 12 hours, and then Ozil Shis Vikam Tracer, and then it set and paused 12 hours. So the Taisvat, so the addition, Amidasai Kiyom Samim, it's Taisva, the addition was like a full day of 24 hours. Rabbi Lazar Shloishim V'Sheish, the addition was 36 hours. Ozil Shis Vikam Tracer, it went 6 hours and paused at noon 12 hours. Ozil Shis Vikam Esim Rabba, then before it set, it paused 24 hours, because it says, V'loi Otz Lavai Kiyom Samim, it didn't hasten to set like a full day of 24 hours, but the pause at noon was less, it was 12 hours, so it was a total of Taisva of 36 hours. Of Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar, Arba Mishmaina, the addition was 48 hours. Ozil Shis Vikam Esim Rabba, it went to the zenith at noon, and it paused 24 hours, and then Ozil Shis, it went to set, Vikam Esim Rabba, and it paused another 24 hours, so that's the total of the pause was 48 hours. Makish Amidasai Libi Asai, we compare its pause at noon to its setting. Mabi Asai Kiyom Samim, when it was setting, it paused 24 hours. Afamidasai, when it was standing in the middle of the sky, it was Kiyom Samim. So 24 at noon, 24 at the time it set. The extra time of the sun stood still in the sky was 48 hours. And again, I want to really welcome in all of you brave people who come in after a full day's fast and are joining us after eating. We welcome in Saba, Mel Zachter, Yaakov Warman, Irving Fishbaum. Irving, great to have you. Dr. Guy, Yitzi Fuchs, Menachem Umansky, Ruvain Shannon, Yisrael Fisher, Eddie Chazan, Yitzi Muller, Shelley Zeitlin, Michael Akta, Chaim Kramer, Ben Zion Cohn, Dr. Block, Marshall Castle on Chicago time, Stephen Holtzman, Moshe Lehman, Nachman Chapler, Richard Rosenzweig, Chaim Braun. Chaim, it's good to have you. Rabbi Kranz, Danny Vogel, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman. I see that Shimon Klein has joined us. Oh, no, that's Shimon Deer. Shimon Deer has joined us. Great to have you, Shimon. And David Helfkat, as we are 29 Zoomers strong after a Tanis. That's a very nice Kiddush Hashem. By the way, some of you joined me this morning when I did that shir. It was really a very invigorating experience. Saba was there, and Shelley Zeitlin was there, and I saw Stephen Holtzman was there, and I saw Nachman Chapler was there. If you want to see that shir, it is on TorahAnytime.com. It's called Special Chizik for Tefillah. It's also on my YouTube channel, Chizik for Tefillah, and it's nice. I talk about developing special points in davening so that it's easy for us to have kavanah when we get used to those special points to have kavanah. So even if we have to daven rapidly, is still able to have kavanah. It's a little bit of a trick, a little bit of a strategy that I use for myself, and the Olam is welcome to take a look at it.
Other was there too.
Wonderful.
Where are we holding?
We are holding on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, and I was just looking to give you the coordinates. We are holding 8 lines from the beginning of the wide lines on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph. Tana. We learned in a brayse, Kishem she'omdu lo yichama Yeshua, just like the sun miraculously stopped for Yeshua, and the Medrash elaborates that when Yeshua fought the enemy, it was Erev Shabbos, and he didn't want to be Mechalel Shabbos, so the sun stayed in the sky so he could finish the campaign before Shabbos. So also the sun stood still for Moshe, and also Ula Nakdiman Ben Gurion. The story of Nakdiman Ben Gurion is a fantastic one. Nakdiman Ben Gurion, who was a very a philanthropic person, once borrowed 12 wells of water for Klal Yisrael, and he promised a huge amount of money if it didn't rain by a certain time to fill back the wells. And on the last day, the wealthy man came and demanded his money, so Nakdim Ben Gurion said, "There's time yet." And the man laughed. It didn't rain till now. Anyway, Nakdim Ben Gurion went and prayed to Hashem, and towards the end of the day, it rained and rained in torrential downpour, and it filled up the 12 wells plus more. So the rich man came out, and Nakdim Ben Gurion says, "Give me the money for the extra that I returned you." So the man said, "I know that there's a God, but still you owe me, because it came since the skies darkened." He said it came after the day was up. So Nakdim Ben Gurion went back and prayed to Hashem that he should show that there's a Hashem in the world. And Hashem caused the sun to come out again. That's one of the reasons why it was called Nakdiman, because Nopta Chamra Bavurai, the sun came out for him. So the sun stood in the sky for Nakdim Ben Gurion. So the Gemara says, Yeshua, that the sun stood for Yeshua Kroi. That's Psukim. Nakdim Ben Gurion, that we know from a Gemara, from tradition. L'Moshe Minal, and how do we know that the sun stood for Moshe Rabbeinu? Says the Gemara, ask your ochel. We learn it out of Gzeir Shava, ochel. Ksiv ochel, it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, ochel teis pachtecha, I will start to show your fear. V'ksiv asem Yeshua, ochel gadlecha, I will start to make you great. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, ask you taste. We learn out of Gzeir Shava, taste. Ksiv ochel osel teis pachtecha, I will give your fear into the world. V'ksiv Yeshua, b'yom teis Hashem, on the day that Hashem delivers, as Amari, the Amorites into your hand. Rav Shmuel ben Achmeni Amar Megufei de Krosh Matle. We learn it out from a pasuk that it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, Asher Yishma'un Shemacha, the world will hear your report, V'rigzu v'chalu mipanecha, and they will tremble and be fearful from before you. Eimasai rigzu v'chalu mipanecha, v'shasha amdu leicham alamayshim, when the sun stood in the sky, the whole world saw it. Meisvei, the problem is that by the sun standing by Yeshua, it says it never happened before or after such a thing. There wasn't before or after like such a day. But if it happened by Moshe Rabbeinu, what do you mean that it never happened before or after? By Moshe and by Naktiv and Ben Gurion, it wasn't so many hours. By Yeshua, it was either 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours. Yeshua, when the sun stood, there was another miracle. That hailstones came raining down on the enemy, obliterating them. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have the accompanying hailstorm. When the enemy was fleeing the Bnei Yisrael, as they were going down the descent of Beis Charan, Hashem rained upon them great hailstones from the sky at Azaka until they reached Azaka, Vayamusu, and they died. Now, Ksiv, Vayomer l'lamed b'nei Yehuda keshes. Here's another mention of the Sefer HaYashar. And it's said to teach the Bnei Yisrael archery. Hine ksuva al Sefer HaYashar. It's written in the Sefer HaYashar that Shevet Yehuda would be skilled in archery. My Sefer HaYashar, again the Gemara asks, what's the book of the upright? Rab Chia bar Abba, Rab Yechon says Sefer Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. It's Bereshis. Shenikri Yesharim. That's the life of the Yesharim. The Chsiv Bahu, it says about them that Bilam said, Thomas Nafshi Maish Yeshurim, may I die the death of the upright, Usiach Risi Kamayu, and may my future be like them. The Heicha Remiza, where in Bereshis does it show that Yehuda would be skilled in archery? Because it says, Yehuda ati yoducha achecha, your brothers will thank you, Yodcha ba'oiref oivecha, your hand will be at the nape of your enemy. Now, the way the Marshal learns this is that when it's close combat, you wield the sword at the face of your enemy. But when the enemy turns and runs, so the way to attack is hitting them from the back at the nape with archery. When you shoot at the back, that's archery. Rabbi Lazar Eimer over here, Sefer HaYashar refers to Mishnah Torah. Mishnah Torah is Devarim, where Moshe Rabbeinu reviewed the Torah. That's why it's called Mishnah Torah, the second Torah, so to speak, the repeat of the Torah. V'amai korele Sefer HaYashar. Why is Sefer Devarim called Sefer HaYashar? Dichsev, because over there it says, V'asisa HaYashar v'atoy b'nei Hashem. You should do that which is upright and good in the eyes of Hashem. V'eicha remiza. And where is it hinted to that Yehuda will be skilled in archery? Because it says, Yodov Rav Loi, his hands will fight for him. Now, when you're wielding a sword, it's only one hand. When is it hands? Archery, because you have to hold the bow with one hand and pull the arrow with the other hand. That needs two hands. We have a third shot in Sefer HaYashar. Rav Shmuel ben Nachman Yom Hazeh Sefer Shoftim. It's the book of Shoftim, the second of the Nevi'im. V'amai korelei Sefer HaYashar dichsiv b'yomim mahem melech b'Yisrael. There was no king. Ish HaYashar bein of Yaset, and everybody did what was right in their eyes. V'heicha remiza. Where in Shoftim does it show that Yehuda will be skilled in archery? L'man das doiris b'nei Yisrael, in order that the generation of b'nei Yisrael should know, l'lamdam milchama, to teach them battle. Now, what even to do in an elementary way do you have to be taught? Archery. that it needs teaching. And how do we know it's Yehuda? Who should go up to the Canaanites to do battle? Hashem, Yehuda Yale. Let it be Yehuda. Now, here's another 3 ways of how to explain a pasuk. Vayorem hatabach es hashoik v'ha'aleha. The tabach lifted up, the butcher lifted up the shank, and what was upon it? Vayosem lefnei Shaul, and placed it before Shaul. Mai v'ha'aleha. What does it mean? What's on it? Rabbi Yochanan is shoik v'alya. It's the shok, the shank, and the tail. And mai v'aleha. Why is the tail considered upon it? The mismecha shoik la'alya, because the shank is right near the tail. Rabbi Elazar is shoik v'chaza. It means the shank and the breast. Mai v'aleha, that which is upon it, because when you wave a carbon, the machisle lechaza ilve the shoik, you place the breast upon the shank, kiba yanufe, when you need to wave it, umanfale. It means the shank and the cover of the thigh, the cap of the thigh. Because shulfe ilve the shoikai, the cap of the thigh sits upon the shank. 2 lines from the bottom of Daf Chafei and Aleph, as we're marching along on this Motzi Shivasa B'Tamaz. I just dictated to my wonderful transcriber, Shelley, an article about Shivasa B'Tamaz, and I said that we said in Slichas this morning that Butla Atomid, Butla Karbanos, and during the 3 weeks, we lost more and more closeness with Hashem. So while we are experiencing the 3 weeks, it's important to work on becoming more close to Hashem. And one of the best ways to get close to Hashem is by learning Torah. But of course, there's a much greater Shechina when you learn with 10 people. Here we're learning with 29 people. It's even more. And of course, we're learning with much more than that with the people who are listening Kol Lashon and viewing on YouTube, on, of course, TorahAnytime.com, and the people listening in all the other vehicles that carry this share. So now the Gemara says, a woman should not be alone with a pagan because they're suspected of immorality. The question is, that's not unique to a guy. A woman is not supposed to be alone with a yid either. But my askinan, so that's not unique to a guy. The kavasa gabi yisrael mishari. Is it allowed by a yid? A man should not be alone even with 2 women, and for sure not with 1 woman. Says the Gemara, Ela b'tlosa. We mean that a woman shouldn't be alone even with 3 goyim. Now with 3 yidden, she's allowed. Now really 2 yidden is allowed in town. But outside of town, 2 is not good because one might have to go to the bathroom and go at a distance. But 3, you could be alone with a yid, but she can't be alone with 3 goyim. Says the Gemara, but she can't be alone even with 3 immodest Jews. Says the Gemara, the kavasa gabi Yisrael beprutzim mishari. Is she allowed to be with Jews who are promiscuous Jews, lewd Jews? Vatanan avaleisha achas misyacherdes im shnei anashim. In town, a woman could be alone with 2 men. That's only worthy men. Aval beprutzim, but if they're more wild, wilde chevra, then afilu asar namiloi, they can't even be alone with 10 of them. And the Gemara says indeed that there happened once a very, very terrible thing. 10 people took out a woman and they took her out in a coffin so people shouldn't see what they're doing. And then afterwards they had an orgy with one woman and 10 men. So you see, if they're promiscuous, it's not only by a guy, even by Yidden. Says the Gemara, the difference is that a Yid, even if he's a paritz, if his wife is with him, a woman could be with him. Because the wife will protect her husband. He's not going to do something in front of his wife. By a guy, even if his wife is with him, it doesn't inhibit him. Because the wife will look away so that the husband should look away from her indiscretions. His wife won't watch him. But a Yid, even if he's a paritz, if his wife is with him, and therefore a woman could be with him if the wife is with the man. Says the Gemara, but why do we need to learn that a woman is not allowed to be alone with a guy? Because of immorality, it should say a woman is not allowed to be alone with a guy because he's chashid on shvichas damim. V'teifik lei mishum shvichas damim. Because we said later on in the Mishnah that you're not allowed to be alone with a guy because he's suspected of bloodshed. Rabbi Yirmiyah be'isha chashuva askina. We're talking about a prominent woman who has government connections. Demir sesemina. He's afraid of her. So since he's afraid of her, therefore, she's only not allowed to be alone with him because of seduction. But because of bloodshed, we're not worried about it. Ravidi says we never worry about a woman because Isha Klezaina Aleha, a woman has her defenses upon her. In other words, she'll use her feminine wiles to save her life by seducing the man, and then he'll spare her life. My beinayu, what's the difference between saying that she's prominent or that she has her wiles about her? The difference is if she's prominent amongst men, meaning that she has governmental connections, but she's not prominent amongst the women. She's not pretty. She's ugly. So in such a case, according to the first opinion, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, such a woman could be alone with a guy. We're not worried about shvichas damim because she has connections. We're not worried about seduction because she's ugly. According to Rav Idi, however, that says Isha Klezaina Aleha, we're not worried about murder, but even if she's not comely, we're still worried about seduction, and she's not allowed to be with him. And Tani Kavasi Rav Idi bar Avin, Ha'isha afal pisha shalom ima, even though there's peace with her, because Klezaina Aleha, still loitis yached imam, it doesn't say because she's prominent, loitis yached imam, she shouldn't be alone with a guy, mimnei shechashudin ala royis, because they're suspected of immorality. That would be like Rav Idi. Now, lo yisyached odam imahem, a man should not be with them because they're suspected of murder. And here, the Gemara tells us that when you travel with a guy, you have to take precautions. So, Tan Rabbanan, Yisrael shin is damen loy ovid kechavim b'derech. If it chances that he's traveling with a guy, in other words, it's preferable not to travel with a guy. But if you met him on the road, you don't have a choice. Toifloi liyamina. You should have him walk to your right. So this way, if he tries to jump you, you'll be able to grab him with your right hand. Rabbi Yishmael ben Aisha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, B'Sayif, if he's wielding a sword, now the sword is in a scabbard to his left. So then, toifloi liyamina, you should have him to your right. Because this way, if he pulls out the sword from the scabbard, which is in the left, you could right away grab it. B'makel, but if he's carrying a staff, then toifloi l'smoila, you should have him to your left, so that you're right near his right hand, that if he tries to use the staff, you could grab it and hold it. Ha'ya'oilin b'mayla, if you were climbing up a mountain, or yordin b'yarida, or going down a mountain, lo yeh Yisrael lamata v'oivik k'chavim lamala. You should never be under him with the guy on top of you, because he could push you down the mountain. El Yisrael lamala, you should be above, v'oivik k'chavim lamata, and the guy should be below. V'al yeshuach lefanim, and never bend down in front of him, because he might crush your skull. Shema yoretz et skulgaltai. He might crush your skull. Really delightful people. Shalu leheichan hoylech, if you're traveling with him, and he asks you, what's your destination? Yarchiv lo yasaderech. Tell him further than your destination. This way, he might be planning problems, and he'll put it off to the end, and by the time you reach your town, you'll get there before his plans to do any trouble. Kederech she'asa Yaakov Avinu le'Esav. And this is what Yaakov Avinu did to Esav, Harasha. Dechsiv ad asher ovo yaladoni se'ira, until I meet you at Se'er. But he didn't go to Se'er. He only went to Sukkosa. He only went to Sukkos. Dechsiv Yaakov nasa Sukkosa. And the Gemara tells us that there was actually an event like this with the Talmidei Rabbi Kiva. Ma'aseh b'Talmidei Rabbi Kiva. Shahol Yeholchen l'Ksiv. They were traveling to nearby Ksiv. Pogu b'hem listim. They were met by some bandits that walked with them. Amar lehen la'onatem holchem. Where are you going? So Amar lehen la'Akko. They said, we're going to far off Akko. So the listim traveled. They figured they had time. Kavan shegil Ksiv. Once they reached Ksiv, the people dashed to the gates of Ksiv where there were already people. Pirshu, and they left them. Amar lahen, so the listim, impressed with the ploy, said, Talmidei mi atem, whose disciples are you that taught you such strategy? Amar lahen, Talmidei Rabbi Kiva, we're the disciples of Rabbi Kiva. Amar lahen, Ashrei Rabbi Kiva v'Talmidav, fortunate is Rabbi Kiva and his disciples, Shalei paga b'hem adam ramei olam. Nobody is able to harm them because they're prepared by such a wise Rebbe. Okay. I would say that that's really wonderful with
Can I ask a question?
on a day like this to be able to accomplish such a feat even after we fasted the entire day is wonderful. And yes, Marshall, what's your question?
We were talking about the one woman, the ugly woman, not having to worry about being with the idolater.
Right.
Was Bilam's donkey any prettier than an ugly woman?
Okay, but Bilam was not a normal case. Bilam was an exception.
Okay, maybe so, but still.
So you don't have to worry. You never have to worry about exceptions. Now,
That's what's troubling you.
we're going to now learn the Mishnah Yomis, Rabbi Isai.